Experience Cyclone Filter Cleaner, the smarter, faster way to clean your pool filter. Tired of slow and messy filter cleaning that leaves your back hurting? Cyclone Filter Cleaner changes that. Now you can clean 4 filters in 15 minutes. Designed by pool pros, its spinning action reaches deep into every pleat without you bending over. Just connect your hose, slide the filter on, and watch the magic happen. Clean smarter, faster, and easier with Cyclone Filter Cleaner.
Hey Pool Pros, tired of roasting under the sun in gear that doesn't hold up? Revved Up Apparel has your back with SPF protected apparel made for the Pool Pro. Want to stand out from the competition? Done. No minimum orders, no inventory stress. We handle the design, posting, printing, and fulfillment, so you can focus on the grind. Whether you're a single puller or managing a whole fleet, this is how you gear up smart and stay sharp. Check out RevvedUpApparel.com. Built for the Pool Pro. Designed for the proud.
This episode is brought to you by Skimmer. Trusted by over 30,000 pool service pros across North America, Skimmer software helps you save time, grow revenue, and boost your 5-star reviews. Whether you're just starting out or owning the market, Skimmer's easy-to-use tools and expert support have you covered. Upgrade your business in 2025 with Skimmer. Visit getskimmer.com/tip-of-the-day to try Skimmer for free for 30 days.
Blu-ray XL is the power of minerals working for you. Reduce your overall chemical costs and labor up to 50% guaranteed. Whether you have 20 accounts or 20,000, Blu-ray XL's direct pricing and free shipping to the pool trade have you covered. Improving pool professionals' profit and work-life balance is what they do. Blu-ray XL, the real mineral purifier. Visit them at BluRayXL.com.
Blu-ray all day.
Vac Bags, a global brand that's locally owned and operated, providing pool debris bags to pool guys in SoCal, so your pool can be debris-free for the weekend. More info at vacbags.com, VACBAGZ.com.
Yeah. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride, and listen to the big homie Pete the Pool Guy. Dropping game, keep it real, put the knowledge on deck. From backyard pools to collecting them checks. Ain't no gimmicks, no stress, just some free flow talk. Breaking bread, building up, gotta walk that walk. From the glory to the hustle, every move got a plan. If you work it the right way, you can level up, man. Pool Full Podcast, let's vibe. Game so deep, let's ride. From the valley to the masses, we know. Let it flow, let it flow, let it flow. Pool Full Podcast, let's vibe. Game so deep, let's ride. From the valley to the masses, we know. Let it flow, let it flow, let it flow.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Pool Food Podcast, where we talk about pools, business, and everything in between. Today is a really good day, man. We have with us Tim from the Pool Guy. You're out in Paris, though?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Paris, Tennessee.
Tennessee, not Paris, California. Paris, Tennessee.
No,
Gotcha.
A lot of people think that I'm from California, but I'm not. It's definitely in Tennessee.
Yeah, we have a city out here called Paris that's pretty well known, so that's probably why. But anyway, welcome to the show, bro.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate being on.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you being on here for sure. But let's kick it off by getting to know who Tim is, who he was prior to pools.
Well, I used to be in the music industry, and I was an audio engineer and went to college for that and got out and started working for a television station. And it was called RFD TV. It's kind of a rural channel where they talk about, farms and, corn and soybeans and all that kind of stuff. So I did that for several years, and I was the head audio engineer, and I worked in downtown Nashville on Music Row. And I went straight from doing that to starting a pool company. So
That's wild, though.
Yep. I did that in 2016. I was in the pool industry for 5 years, or not the audio industry for 5 years. And then I transitioned over to pools in 2016, started a pool company in Paris, Tennessee. So that's kind of how it went.
Yeah, but that's a crazy jump. How and why?
So music industry was really fun. So I got to work with a lot of different artists. I got to record with Dolly Parton. So I did a few songs with her and worked on a couple of different albums where, she was a part of it. And I got to work with her first cousin, Richie Owens, and he was kind of one of my mentors. And so it was great. Had a lot of fun. Got a lot of album credits. I got to vote for the Grammys and become a member of like the National Recording Arts and Sciences. So
wow.
Yeah, it was a kind of it seems like it would matter, but it doesn't when it comes to the pay. So it was just like you can't make hardly anything. It was like $15 an hour, and I was the head audio engineer, had a nice title, but the money wasn't really there. So, I met my wife and we started a family and, just tried to make more money than what I was currently making. And her parents lived out in Paris, Tennessee, and basically we all just decided to move out there and start our own company to try to make more money. So we moved out to Paris and started a pool company, and I still wasn't making very much. I was making like $500 a week, but it was more than I had made in the music industry. So and then we just we grew from there, and eventually I just started my own company. I was, kind of working under their umbrella, under her parents, and we then.
So they're the ones that were in the pool industry. They're the ones that connected you to that.
It was like my father-in-law's brother had a pool company in Kansas, and their son-in-law was running it, and they were just kind of like, well, we could probably do that. So we just kind of jumped off and did it together.
So it was a whim. It was just, let's try it.
Yeah. It was a leap of faith kind of thing. It was just like where we were just kind of, wanting to live in Paris and having to like find a way to do it, where we could actually, survive. And so I was living in Nashville at the time. And so we moved from that area over to Paris, which is West Tennessee, and started up a pool company, started like a retail store. So we did that for a few years, and then we decided that we were going to grow and move our company to Knoxville, to like a bigger area. So we moved to Knoxville, Tennessee, and we, did a bunch of pools out there in Knoxville, which is like on the, complete other side of the state. We're in complete West Tennessee in Paris, and Knoxville is complete East Tennessee. So we moved out there and, started up in Knoxville and started the Pool Guy. That's where my company, kind of actually started. Before that, it was a company called Splash Outfitters, and it was like a retail store. So, we moved to Knoxville, started the Pool Guy, and then COVID happened. So we were like doing, the Pool Guy, and it was all going pretty good. And then this whole COVID thing happened, and, we had bought a house out there and just kind of, moved in, and everything with COVID happened. And we decided that, well, it was maybe not so great to live in a large city, and we moved back to Paris. And that was about 3 years ago. So, we just kind of started right back up in Paris with the Pool Guy, and instead of having a retail store, went just with running trucks and, just doing everything basically out of our home and shop, and just, not spending the money on retail and just doing everything, just all the pools are out there. So we just went to people's houses and worked on pools.
Yeah. So you're saying that you guys started the business with your father-in-law, or is this your business?
We started it with my father-in-law originally with Splash Outfitters, and then now
when it became the Pool Guy, it was just you?
Yeah, then it was just me. So that was like 2020, I want to say, when we started up the Pool Guy. So, it was a few years, working together with him, and, my mother-in-law, she also worked at the retail store, and we all kind of did that together, and we sold pools, and we sold hot tubs, and, we installed in-ground pools, and, we sold chemicals, and, just, the pool store experience. And, I was just really learning about pools at that time. And, I was going out and cleaning pools, but I didn't really understand what it was all about. And then, so when I moved back to Paris after Knoxville, I discovered David Van Brunt, which is this, I was just like looking up podcasts one day. I didn't even really know what podcasts were. It was the first podcast I ever listened to. And I just typed in the Pool Guy in the podcast app, and this podcast came up called the Pool Guy Podcast Show. And so I started listening to David Van Brunt, and it totally transformed what I thought I knew about pools in all the years previous. Yeah. And it just, something really clicked, and a huge change happened in my business where it was just like really struggling to like being really successful, like almost immediately. So it was just like a huge step in the right direction, just finding somebody like that you could talk to. And so he has like this coaching program, and I started listening to his podcast. Discovery had this coaching program, and I signed up for it. And you can just call this guy and talk to him about any pool question you have. And I'd never had any training. I just went from being an audio engineer to being a pool guy, and it was just all just figure it out on your own. There was no guidance. My father-in-law, he was resourceful, but he didn't have like pool experience, so to speak, in like the pool industry. He had a pool, and we all, kind of learned on that together, but it was like, there wasn't really much more than that. And so, there was a lot of learning that went into all this. And like, I kind of started learning chemistry from BioGuard. That was like one of our first suppliers of chemicals. And I had a BioGuard like representative that really taught me a lot and taught us all a lot about how to do chemistry. And so I started with BioGuard, and then I kind of rode that wave all the way up until I found David Van Brunt. And then I started implementing things like, like Pool RX and Blu-ray XL and, borates and stuff. Like I started using Pool RX first, but I didn't like the packaging, and I ruined like a whole bunch of it in the back of my truck because it was like, I keep stuff in buckets. And so David likes Pool RX. So I started using that, and then I discovered Blu-ray XL after that with Chris. And, it was just like, I met Chris from Blu-ray, and he was a really cool guy, and he ended up coming out to Paris, and we did some videos together. And
I saw.
Yeah, so that was a really fun experience, but I didn't really know about all that kind of stuff, and it really opened my eyes to that whole other realm of like enhancers, and what they can do. So I know you use Blu-ray XL, and that's what I use exclusively now. And I really like that product. And I also use borates, which are a really fantastic product. And I don't know if you use that too much or not. I don't know.
You know what, myself,
some, but
I haven't jumped into borates. I have a lot of pool guys that hit me up, and they're always telling me I need to jump on it, I need to do it. But I just haven't done it yet. I just haven't gotten around to doing it yet.
Well, you like saving money, so you're gonna like them once you start using it. So there's a lot of different ones, and it's confusing, and it really confused me. But David kind of helped me with that and helped me learn all the different things about borates, and there's all kinds of different ones that do different things. So it's kind of confusing at first, but once you understand it, it can really save you a lot of money once you're out there, and customers really like it too, because they like the experience. I guess it would be better to say they don't understand really what's going on, but when it comes to the experience, they understand that, and that their pool's always clear. And I have a lot of really, really large pools, and how I really discovered borates, and not discovered, but really understood their value is with a really large pool that I just had algae problems with all the time. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to get borates, and I'm going to put it in this pool and see what happens. And I have not had any algae in that pool since then. And I was like, all right, so that showed me the power of what it can do, and just keeping it, borates at 50 parts per million. So yeah, I use boric acid powder, which is really helpful. I also use sodium borate, and then there's sodium tetraborate. So there's the three different levels, and kind of what
it's broken down into like different categories, and it's not just borates and that's it.
Yeah, it's like boric acid powder. It has its own thing that it does where it raises your borate level, but it doesn't raise your pH. It's kind of acidic, boric acid. It's kind of right there in the name, so it's a little bit acidic. But if you add, a lot of people don't like borates because they're adding sodium tetraborate, and that raises your borate level and your pH like astronomically, and you have to add a ton of acid to balance it out. So I don't use tetraborate a lot unless I need to raise the pH. And then you've got the like elemental boron, which is sodium borate, which is like the same thing basically as borax. So that's, and I use all three of them, and borax is kind of like, it raises your pH and it also raises your borate. So it's kind of like tetraborate. They have a similar effect. So those two are very similar, but there's a lot of different kinds, and it's all really confusing, and people don't like their pH getting super high, so they just stay away from it. It's scary,
Right.
So,
But I was in the understanding that borax helps stabilize the pH. Is that correct?
It does. Yeah. So it helps your pH like stabilize from the top end. So alkalinity helps it from getting too low. Okay. It's a buffer, and borates are like a second buffer where they buffer the pH from getting too high. So yeah, there's also that. They are a buffer also. So, and they can also kind of lock your total alkalinity, I've found too, where your total alkalinity hardly moves after you add borates. So that's kind of another interesting effect that I haven't really heard anybody talk about, but I've noticed. So they're really cool in what they do, and
Do you consider that a good thing or a bad thing that it locks in the alkalinity?
It can be good and bad, depending, like if your alkalinity is too high, you don't want to add borates until you get it down low. So it's like it kind of locks all your chemistry in place. So you want to correct like a high alkalinity before you add borates, is kind of what that ends up meaning. So it's good.
So say
but
your
if you use it
alkalinity
wrong, it can be, can keep your pH too high, because you can lock your alkalinity really high if you add it before you lower your total alkalinity, say like 100. That's what I put my target alkalinity at. But if your total alkalinity is at 150 and you add borates, it's going to lock it at 150. So you just got to kind of be aware of that, and lower your total alkalinity first before you add borates, unless you want your alkalinity to be high, which your pH is always going to be high, if you're at 150. So that's just, they're good, but they can do things that you don't expect. So if you use it incorrectly, it's just like another tool. But if you use any tool wrong, you can mess something up, right? So it's just kind of important to know what you're doing. And well, it's difficult to find the information, and the information's like so different from every source that you hear it from, but really you just got to start using it. That's the key. You just got to start using it and see what happens, and then you will figure it out yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Because the information piece, I completely agree. That's kind of one of the reasons why I haven't really jumped on it, is because every source that I try to find information for, it's completely different. So I'm like, man, okay, I want to make sure before I try it out,
Yeah,
But
exactly.
but anyways, going back to David, we were talking off air before we started recording, and yeah, man, I learned a lot from David myself when I first got started in pool industry. He was the go-to videos that I would go check out to make sure I was doing things right. Like he was my, okay, I need to make sure this is done right. So, but yeah, I rarely give kudos to him, which I should be giving more kudos to him, because I learned a lot from him, and he has a lot of great information. Like you said, he has his podcast. I found out about him through the YouTube channel,
Right.
but really, really good stuff for sure.
Yeah, he's got a lot of YouTube tutorial videos, and that's, I found out about that later after I found the podcast, because he talks about it. But I would go and, figure out how to do this or how to do that, or what, products that he was using. And, I really learned a lot from his videos as well. He just has vast resources on how to do everything. So I just didn't really have anyone to ask that I felt like it was on my level. And I really wasn't on social media either at that point. I just kind of was going out there and doing it and just learning everything on my own. And, I started learning about the podcast thing. I started a Facebook page and, started an Instagram page and started posting. And, I always also heard about like the Pool Guy ML, and he was one of the guys that had really started my video journey. And, I saw his videos and I was like, wow, this guy's making pool videos and people care about it. And I just never really thought people cared. And well, I guess might as well make some pool videos. And then just like, I've discovered all these, there's so many other companies doing it now. But, when I first started, I didn't think anyone cared, and then, you start doing all these green to cleans and stuff. And it's like people, see it and they like it. And, the Blu-ray XL thing really helped my kind of social media presence. So I was doing green to cleans and using the Blu-ray XL and, kind of promoting that product. And, just it looks so cool on camera that people, you're just like visually captured by it. So that kind of helped grow my social media following. And then, just learned about all these other companies that are also using the same, products and, just got to know them and, including you. And, I had first talked to you about like some staining. I saw one of your videos on staining and I had a pool like the same day that got stained, and I saw your video and I sent you a message. I was like, man, how did you do that? and you messaged me back, and that's kind of how we first started talking. And I just get curious. I see other people doing stuff and I don't know how to do it, so I just ask them. And a lot of people are like you, where they will actually respond and they'll just tell you. And that's a great resource. And it's really cool that you do that.
No, thank you. No, thank you, bro. Because like you're putting a lot of content also now, educational content for pool guys, and I feel the same way. Like, you would think that pool guys would be like they don't want to share their secrets, they don't want to share their what they know about the industry or what they know about pools or chemistry or whatnot. But everybody in the community is really willing to help out. So for everybody that's trying to start out in the business or trying to learn something or has a question, even though no matter how dumb it might sound in your head, it's like you just ask it and people will help out,
Well, I like training, and part of my job as an audio engineer was to train like interns. And I always had like an intern that I was training, right, to work on the audio board. So that was something that I was kind of used to, is just always training someone to do what I do. And I just like talking to people. And then I got into the pool industry, and well, I was having to train myself. And now, I like sharing that information to other people like you who are maybe struggling. It's just, because it's hard. And, I went through it personally and I know what it's like. So it's, it's cool to share something with someone else, and especially someone who will listen. And, surprisingly, most of the people that I talk to these days are pool companies in California, or, other states like, Arizona, Boston, Massachusetts. So it's just like these, kind of guys that I've gotten in touch with all over the country will just call me up from time to time. And, it's like I get to kind of mentor, some other people now, and that I've gained all this information. So that's fun for me too. I like doing that.
That's cool. Did you ever think you were going to be in this position you're in right now?
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. I thought I was going to be a famous musician or a famous audio, engineer or something like that. That was where I thought it was all going. But, things changed, and
you adapt.
My priorities changed, and so, and all of the success that I've had in the pool industry is totally unexpected, and I'm very thankful for it. And it's all thanks to God. So I'm definitely a big proponent of giving thanks where credit is due. And I wouldn't have any of this if it wasn't for God. I just got home from church from
nice.
So, and we really
so you charged
just
up right
appreciate
now.
all that.
You
Yep, that's
charged
right.
up right now.
Exactly. Yes.
That's how I see it. We're batteries, and every time we go to church, we charge up, and then we
That's right.
use that energy throughout the week, and then the next time we charge up again. Definitely.
Absolutely. Yep.
But yeah, everything. It's crazy how he has a plan for us. No matter how much, like you said, you had your plan. I'm gonna be a musician or engineer. I'm gonna do this, this, this. You were making the
No.
moves to make it happen, and he's like, nah. Nah,
No,
that's not
man.
gonna happen.
God had other plans, and now I'm able to give back to my community and give back to my church, and like we like sponsor a local basketball team called the Pool Guys every year,
No
and
way.
it's like yeah, so that's really cool for
That's
me,
awesome.
and so we've been doing that for several years, and like our team won the championship last year, and
Yo.
my son's on the team, so that's it's fun.
Congratulations, bro.
Yeah, we love doing that kind of stuff, and just being able to do that. Well, I could go have fun recording, but I couldn't really support my community with that kind of income, and it was just being a pool guy, it's like I'm more of an adult now, where I can actually,
Right.
support my family and support my, community and all that kind of stuff. So, and I'm also a farmer. We have a cattle farm here, so that's something that we do on the side, and my wife kind of heads that, and I'm the assistant on the farm, but I drive around a tractor a lot, and I put out hay and all that kind
Yo.
of stuff. We have cows and horse, and bunch of cats and dogs, and
You gotta put some of that stuff online on social media, bro. I would love to see it.
yeah, well, it's on there, man. It's on my wife's social media. I'll do a shout out to her. It's at Sunset Meadow Farms is our farm page, and yeah, it's really awesome. So that's kind of her passion, and that helps me to be able to support that as well. So we kind of do both things, and we're doing the pool business, and she does all the books for the pools, and I help her with the farm stuff when I'm here on the weekends or when I get home from work. It's sometimes I during the week I can't do much, but on the weekends
Yeah.
I help out, and she kind of keeps it down during the week, and our kids help out as well. So yeah, that's something that we do, and have another passion for is just kind of working the land. And we have Scottish Highland cattle, and we've got several of those, and they're like petting cows, right? So they're not beef cows, they're like show cattle, so you can just walk right up and
Gotcha.
pet them. Yeah, they're pretty cool. So
I'm obsessed with with this YouTube channel. I forgot the name of it, but all he does is fix cows' nails or hoofs.
yeah, oh, I love those
The
videos
hoof
too.
doctor or something like that.
I don't know what it's called, but yes,
But
I've seen those also.
dude, I will zone out watching those, like literally for a couple of hours, just watching nails come out of those things, pus, all kinds of
Yep.
stuff. It's
Oh man, yeah,
crazy.
it's intense.
Yeah, man, but that's awesome. That's crazy that you're pretty much you have a full schedule. You're pretty busy.
Yes, definitely. Yep.
Yeah. What were some of the biggest challenges when you first started running your own pool business, your pool route?
I didn't know how to price anything. I was just completely going based off of what I thought the price should be, and just totally guessing, and just kind of seeing what people would respond to, and kind of adjusting my rates. But I didn't know what to charge. I didn't know if I should include chemicals or not. That's a
Right.
huge one. I didn't know if I should do weekly service, or some people ask for every other week, or some people ask for once a month, and it just like people ask for all kinds of different things. And in my area, we do like openings and closings every spring, and we do maintenance basically from April to October, and after that, the pools are closed. And then, from then on, I just kind of have to figure out what to do. I do have some that are year round, but I do a lot of repairs when, pools are closed. So it was just hard to figure out what I could charge to actually continue to work on pools, because I would have to like get side jobs in the wintertime at first, because there was like just no work to be done. So I would have to do something else, in order to, just be able to stay in the pool industry. And that was difficult. So
Tim, I was gonna ask you, I don't mean to interrupt. I was
No,
gonna ask you,
go ahead.
for us in California that work all year round, and don't really understand the whole closing season, can you explain that to us? How does that work?
So for closing specifically, around when the leaves start falling in October, people will want to winterize their pool, and we usually do that with a safety cover, and I will come through and like blow all of the water out of the lines with an air blower thing. It's the Cyclone is the blower that I use, and so you fill all of the plumbing lines with air, you cap everything off, you basically make sure that when it freezes, all of the pipes underground are not going to explode and burst underground. So that has to be done correctly. And if you do it wrong, well, it could be a real problem. So it's important to know how to do it right.
You said you're putting air in the lines. Are you clearing out the water, or are you actually enclosing air within the line?
Both. So yeah, you are pushing the water out of the line and enclosing air at the same time. So that it's a yes to both of those. So that's part of it. And, I make some videos on the winterization. Like I just made one where it's like, what is that gizmo? And I'm putting the gizmo and screwing it into the skimmer. That's for winterization. So there's different plugs for the skimmers and different plugs for the jets. And then the main drain has to be airlocked because you can't plug that. And then the pool will be covered. And most of the time it's with a solid cover. There's also a mesh cover that can be put on. It just kind of depends on the customer, what they have. Some people don't have a cover at all, and you can do like a tarp and water bags, which is a not great solution, but it's one of the solutions that's out there. But, covering the pool is pretty important. And then putting some
Are
sort
they
of
drained?
pump. I don't drain most pools. In some cases, I will have to, and it's pretty rare, but in some pools have these weird jets that are right below the skimmer, where it's like a flat jet that's built into the skimmer body that comes out below the skimmer, and there's no way to plug it, so you have to drain below it in order to winterize those. But that's the only reason that I drain a pool, because most of our pools are liner pools. So if you drain it, the liner will like float and lose its shape. So no, I don't drain most pools, but in some rare cases, I'll do a partial drain. But that's part of the winterization process, is doing all that procedure. I'll do chemicals before that, like a shock and algicide treatment, like add shock, brush it out, add algicide, let it all circulate kind of while I'm doing my thing, and then blow out all the lines, cover the pool, and close the gates, take pictures of everything, and then just leave it in that state until the springtime. Then we come back and do everything in reverse, pull the cover off, fill everything back up with water, turn the pump back on, and get it all restarted. And if you do it right, then it'll be clear in the springtime, and you won't really have to do a green to clean. But if you have like a solid cover, if you have a mesh cover, you're going to open it up in the springtime, and a lot of times it will be green. And I have to do a lot of green to cleans. So that's just kind of part of it. But with a solid cover, usually it's clear, and I don't have to do a green to clean. So it depends on the cover, is one of the things. And then some people just don't want to do any of that, and they might have a heater, or you don't even have to have a heater, but they will just keep their pools open year round. And as long as the water is circulating, then the water won't freeze. But, if the power goes out or something, then there could, if you don't have a generator, there could be a bad situation. But a lot of people have generators in this area. So that's
unless the heater stops working.
Well, most people don't actually keep it heated all winter long. They will just heat it like on the weekends and turn the heater off during the week. And not actually use it. And as long as it's circulating, then it won't freeze, but it has to be circulating. So, if the power goes out, that can be an issue without a generator. But, a lot of people have like the whole house generator where it will just automatically keep on, all the pool equipment and everything. So that's kind of how we handle that.
Wow. So how does a pool guy in your area survive not working all year long financially?
It's hard, and that's why there's not many pool guys in my area. You have to be very resourceful. Um, like I also work on hot tubs during the winter time, and I do a lot of repairs on hot tubs, and you just kind of have to know how to do that in order to be able to maintain pools during pool season. Is how to do repairs and how to fix things, and that can be really difficult because not every guy who cleans pools can also do repairs. And I also do liners, so I'll be measuring a lot in the off season. So doing hot tub repairs, measuring for liners. I've got year-round clients that do keep their pools open. I maintain about 65 pools, and during the wintertime, I'd say maybe 50 of those closed down. So I might have 15 left that are still year-round. So a lot of them are closed, and then I reopen those pools in the spring. But during that off season, I have very little maintenance that I'm doing. So I have to do repairs in order to, maintain that, level of income in order to feed my family. So that's what I do.
Okay, so because of it, do you feel like your pricing has to be a little bit more expensive than somebody that's full year, all year long?
So I base my pricing on opening and closing. So opening and closings are pretty expensive. So an opening and closing are $300 either way. So $300 plus chemicals for an opening, $300 plus chemicals for closing. And some pools are higher if they're larger or something like that. Some pools might be a little bit less if they're smaller, but that's kind of like the, just regular standard closing rate is what I call that. And so my cleaning rate is kind of based on that. So closing might take like sometimes 2 or 3 hours. Depends on the pool. And, I give my full attention to each pool. And, if it's not, something where it's going to be, something way out of the ordinary, then I don't charge more. If I'm, doing something out of the ordinary, like if I have to do a drain, that might be an extra charge, like maybe an extra $50 or something like that. So $350 plus closing. So that's kind of how the pricing goes for that. And then I've got my maintenance rate for, standard local is $125 plus chemicals. And then I've also got a maintenance rate for another city that I do, Jackson, Tennessee, which is like an hour away. It's $150 plus chemicals per cleaning. So, if you're doing weekly maintenance for standard $125 plus chemicals, that's like $500 a month, not including chemicals. So, that's definitely a lot higher rate than, what you guys are used to charging. But
definitely,
I'm only doing it
you need to
6
break
months
that
out of
down.
the year.
You need to break that down for us, because that's really expensive compared to what we're charging, obviously.
Right. So yeah, and I don't include chemicals in my rate. I just charge basically like, the standard price, what, the pool store would charge around here. So I don't include chemicals in my rate, but, the labor charge is just, it's what I found that I have to charge to survive. I started at 60 plus chemicals was my starting rate when I was in 2016. And then I worked my way up, and I just...
But let's clarify, that's per visit.
Per visit, yep.
Okay.
And
that's once a week or twice
chemicals.
a week?
So my standard maintenance is actually every other week. So most people, I do standard maintenance, so that's 2 visits per month. So that's $250 plus chemicals for local standard maintenance. And some people will actually provide their own chemicals, so it's only $250 a month is all they have to pay, plus whatever, they pay for their own chemicals that they keep at their house. So some people will do it like that, but most people don't. And some people will kind of start with providing their own chemicals, and then they run out, and then they'll just want me to provide it after that, so they don't have to go get it. But my standard maintenance plan is every other week. So that's 2 visits per month. So that's $250 plus chemicals for local. And then for Jackson, it's $150 plus chemicals per visit. So that's $300 per month. plus chemicals for those. And that's about an hour drive for me. So Paris, Tennessee is where I do my main business. And then I also drive to Jackson twice a week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm in Paris. Tuesday and Thursday, I'm in Jackson. So I have a different rate for that city because it's, it's a lot longer drive. So that's how I kind of base that. But I do service in both cities, so I'm not just in one place. So that kind of factors into my rate too, because I do a lot of driving. So yeah, and like I said, I'm only working about 6 months out of the year with, I would say about 80% of my maintenance clients. So I have to make my money and save it up,
Yeah.
during that portion of the year in order to, because repairs aren't for sure. And I just have to sit there and wait for the phone to call. And if nobody calls, well, I still have to pay my power bill and my electric, and all that kind of stuff. So it's, I have to save up money during pool season
Why
in
is
order to
it?
be able
Why
to
is it
survive in the off season.
Why is it every other week? Why isn't it weekly?
So I do offer premium, which is weekly. And I do have some people that do that as well. So I've just found that I can do it every other week. And that kind of throws
The
a lot
pool
of
stay
people
clean?
off. Yeah. So I use the robotic cleaners in a lot of cases, but I don't require that. I've got the Riptide, but I just have found that with borates, that's a big thing that helps maintain my pools in between visits, is just keeping like the enhancers like borates, Blu-ray XL. I use both of those in almost all of my pools, and that really helps keep the pool clear, so I don't have to go as much, and I can still, maintain a clear pool. And a lot of my clients also have the robotic cleaners or like a pressure side cleaner. Yeah, my standard maintenance is every other week. And I know most people, like you have weekly or sometimes twice a week. And
Yeah.
so that throws a lot of people off. But yeah, that's how I do it around here is every other week is my standard maintenance program. And I don't do any less than that. Some people will ask for like monthly and I don't do that. But I will do weekly or every other week is my two maintenance programs.
You're like $1,000 for once a month. Jeez.
Yeah, that would be a lot.
No, but I'm very curious about that because I can see the chemistry, you getting your chemistry to last you every other week. That's I can see that. But the cleaning the pool, like if I miss a visit, I feel it on the next visit. I'm like, man,
Yeah.
I'm there a lot longer.
Well, I would say to those clients that to optimize their cleaning in between visits, that they need to have an automatic pool cleaner for sure. I can keep a pool clear by going every other week, but I can't be there every day to clean it. And like you said, the wind blows and, it gets dirty for sure. But those pools that I show up to every other week without an automatic cleaner, they're still relatively clean. They might have a few leaves in the bottom, but, they're still in a swimmable condition, which is what I tell my clients that I can do. And then, anything beyond that, if they want it to be cleaner than it is in between visits, then they should get an automatic pool cleaner to really optimize my service. Like I really like the Dolphin pool cleaners. That's what I normally recommend to my customers. And they work really great. You just set the schedule on your phone and, they will clean the pool in between visits. You can just press the button and it's not based on your filtration system. So it's not gonna, like you guys use a lot of suction side cleaners and I don't use any suction side cleaners. It's all robots and a few Polaris 280s. So pressure side cleaners are also kind of common, but they're almost all robotic. So that's what I recommend to my customers to keep the pool clean in between visits. And anytime the pool's dirty, you just press the button and 2 hours later, the pool will be clear. And a lot of times I'll just schedule it with them while they're on their apps to kind of where I'll recommend they just kind of set it in the morning to come on around 7:00 and then it just goes off around 9 and the pool's clear the rest of the day. And they just do that every day in between visits.
Wow. Man, so what's your starting price? Like this isn't I'm not going to go below this amount. Whenever you get a new client, what is your starting or beginning price, your base price?
So in Paris, so that's local, is $125 plus chemicals per visit. So standard is $250 per month plus chemicals for standard maintenance.
And how'd you come up with that number?
Well, I started at 60 and
Yeah.
I worked my way up, and it was just,
You were
it was
just,
like
as
kind
you
of,
were going, you were kind of just like, okay, I need
yeah,
to
I would
charge a little bit
just,
more.
exactly. Yeah. I would just, I mean, over the course of 9 years, I just gradually increased the price and discovered what it would take in order for me to do it full time. And I settled on the price where I'm at 3 years ago. So that's how long
Gotcha.
I've had that price. And it took
So how
me
do you,
up until then to build that.
gotcha. How do you explain your pricing to customers who say maybe like, hey, the other guy's cheaper?
Um, the other guys around here are not cheaper. They're
Really?
also around the same rate, but the service is not anywhere near the same, so there's other companies that charge even more than me, or some that might charge less than me, some charge the same as me, but the quality is not really there on a lot of these other companies, and people are really trying, and I wish them all the best, but I just tried harder, and you know I feel like I've kind of, in a way, kind of dominated the area as far as, what somebody is able to do on a consistent basis. But just the performance is not there from the rest of the companies. So I'm able to charge a rate that reflects that.
That's good. That's good. So what advice do you have to the listeners? Maybe a new pool guy that's trying to figure out the pricing on how to charge, how to get this going for him.
Well, it's area dependent. I'll say that. That's really important to emphasize, because if I'm speaking to someone in California, which I have friends out there, I kind of give them different advice because I don't know exactly how that works, and I'm amazed how you guys make it work. If I'm speaking to somebody in Tennessee, then I can speak to them in a different, light, because it's different, area, and based on openings and closings, the pricing is different. So I would say that you should just try to fill up your schedule charging the rate that you can charge. Like you charge 180 a month, right? Is kind of like your starting rate. So, and then, once you fill up your schedule with that, you try to quote higher and fill those slots that, maybe you have like late payers or problem customers that you want to eliminate, and you fill up the slot with the higher paying client that you had with, one of those, a trouble client. But you don't want to just start charging all your all your existing clients the new rate. You just give that rate to a new client that's asking for service, and
Yeah,
you quote the new client higher.
You might lose them all.
Yeah. So, and then, you just kind of gradually replace people as you get, people that are willing to pay higher. And I found that the higher that you charge, the better clientele that you attract. And that kind of goes along with it. And it's like, when you charge more, you you just attract people that are, less problematic when it comes to, those, late payers and stuff like that. So you can kind of solve some of your problems just by charging more. It's surprising, but it's like, the more you charge, the better the client is. Not
That's
always
true
that
though.
way, but it can be.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Running a pool business isn't really that easy. So what keeps you motivated, throughout the day, as you're going through your routes?
Um, a lot of my motivation comes from being able to support my family. That's my primary motivation, I would say, is just, being able to support my wife and my 3 children financially, is a big part of it. And that's why I learned how to do all the things that I do, is to be able to do, that on an everyday basis, because they have to eat every day of the year, right? So, you have to be able to provide for them, and work really hard in the summer to be able to provide in the winter. And, that's kind of how this area is, because if you don't save up big in the summertime, then in the wintertime you're going to be out and you're going to have to look for another job. So that can be part of it, unfortunately, if you don't plan and charge appropriately during the summer months. And it's like, some people might, pick up service and then drop 2 weeks later, and you really just really never know how that's going to be. So it's a kind of little more inconsistent. It's like, you'll pick up clients for shorter amounts of time, and even when you charge low, it was the same way. So it's like, if you charge higher, then you're able to still survive, based, on not working in the wintertime.
Yeah, that makes sense. In your area, do you have mostly like bigger pools or smaller pools?
Our pools are like kind of Texas size pools, I would say, is kind
Also
of how people.
bigger.
Yeah, so large size pools.
Okay. No, that makes
Mo-
sense. That's the reason for the pricing then.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, average pool is 25,000, all the way up to 60,000 gallons. I've got a lot of really large pools on my route, so the Riptide really helps. Using the enhancers really helps. And, I've got the Spin Lab, which I test all of my pools on each visit. So that's included. In that rate is a disc, is part of the rate. And I use the Spin Lab every time. So unless the battery dies, in which case I have, test strips or, I've got a
Your
Taylor
Taylor kit.
K2006, yeah, just as a backup. And I use those, and I used them more in the past than I do now. But now I use the Spin Touch, and I test every visit with one of those, and that's also included in my rate. Nobody else does that. Also, in my area, they're all just testing with strips, or it's like somebody will just roll through and put in a robotic cleaner. They're not going to clean with a Riptide, so it's just. I offer a different level of service than most people are willing to give, and not using the customer's filtration system is also a big plus, because most people in this area who are kind of starting off, they will want to use the hose and, the vac head, and they run it through the filter and all that. And it wears people's equipment down faster. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing that. So I'm making your equipment last longer. And, that's kind of plays into my rate as well.
So when you're vacuuming with the Riptide, what kind of bags are you using to be able to get all the fine debris, like the fine sand or dirt?
So I use the vac bags. I've been using those for a couple of months, and I like the red bag, the 100 micron. That's like my everyday bag.
Yeah.
So I really like that one, and I also use like the Riptide bags that you can get from Riptide. So like a lot of the heavy debris, which heavy leaf debris, I get a lot of, and I'll have to switch over to like the Riptide bag for that kind of stuff, because it's got the really solid collar on there. So if I get like a pool with a lot of leaves, I'll switch to a 400 micron debris bag from Riptide with that heavy duty collar, because I can fill it up with leaves, absolutely to the brim. And sometimes I have to do that like 10 times just to get the leaves out of these pools. And I mean, it's extreme. So, it's like I charge the same rate if I'm cleaning a pool with 10 bags of leaves or just like one, like bag, so it's that kind of plays into my rate too. I don't charge more if I'm doing like a heavy duty leaf cleanup to a certain degree. Now I charge more if I consider it a storm cleanup. So if there's like a tornado or like a major windstorm, like you guys have the Santa Ana winds, but we get some pretty intense winds out here as well, and I will charge more sometimes whenever there's a really bad storm, if I consider it to be more than what I would say is normal. But it takes a lot to trigger a storm cleanup, and I'm pretty generous about it, but I do have a limit on what I'm able to include for that rate. And if I'm going to be at the pool for 2 hours, then that's not the same as that's a 1 hour slot, is like my standard maintenance slot is a 1 hour slot. And sometimes I might be there for 30 minutes. Sometimes I might be there for an hour and a half. But if I'm going to be there for 2+ hours, then that'll kind of trigger like a storm cleanup. And then I'll charge like an extra 50. So it's not even that much usually for a storm cleanup, but, and that's my filter cleaning rate as well. So if I do a filter cleaning, that's an extra 50. If I do a salt cell cleaning, that's an extra 50. There's add-on stuff like that that's not included in my rate. But, storm cleanup takes a lot to trigger that. But other stuff like filter cleaning, like I said, that's just kind of an automatic upcharge. Salt cell cleaning, automatic upcharge. So that kind of stuff is not included. But it's extra work, and it's like when you use more electricity, your power bill is higher, so that's kind of how it goes with the pool industry as well. And I get that analogy from the Pineapple Pool Boys. So, shout out to Zach, but that's just kind of, that's how it works. It is extra, and I didn't understand that at first. And I used to include like everything, like not chemicals, but I would include salt cell cleaning. I would include filter cleaning. I didn't know that I should charge extra. I would like include repairs also, like not the materials, but I would just like include it when I was there cleaning. I didn't know that I should charge extra, but I eventually learned all that, and now I do charge extra.
Yeah, I'm just a little curious because you say you don't use the client's pool equipment to like for vacuuming. So are you also carrying a portal vac, or are you using the bags from the vac bags to do your vacuuming just as a whole? Because some of those bags, personally, when I feel like the red bag gets most of it, but you could still see a cloud come out of the bag of debris. And if I try to use something even more finer, like the black one, or even I think it's the orange one, I feel like those fill up right away, even though there's hardly anything in them.
Well, that's what the Vac Daddy's for, man. So yeah, when it comes to super fine debris, I'll just bust out the Vac Daddy. I carry the Riptide and the Vac Daddy on my truck at all times. So I have 2 vacuum systems that I carry. And for like the super fine debris where just you can't vacuum it out with the 100 or an 80 or even the 60 micron bags that they have, you just get the Vac Daddy and vacuum it to waste. And yes, for that, I also use my equipment. I won't use the customer's equipment for vacuuming to waste when it comes to super fine debris like that. And I sometimes
the Vac Daddy really
extra,
works that good?
Oh, yeah, it's awesome. Well, I just use it for vacuuming to waste. I don't use the bags that come in there. I mean, I think it's a great option for some people, but I have too much debris in my area for the bags to really be effective. So I keep the Vac Daddy in my back seat, and just anytime I have to either vacuum to waste or vacuum up really fine debris beyond like that, let's just say 100 micron area, then I'll just bust out the Vac Daddy. I'll just hit everything else in the pool, or come back and like hit it one week with the Riptide and come back and hit it with the Vac Daddy the next week. I'll only use one vacuum system per visit. Yeah, like if I have to use both, that would probably be like a storm cleanup sort of charge or something like that. Or, if I'm doing a green to clean, that's kind of a different category. So for green to cleans, that's, a different pricing category. I don't charge the same as standard maintenance. It's harder. So standard green to clean first visit is 200 plus chemicals. And it's,
how's the
200
suction,
plus chemicals.
How's the suction on the Vac Daddy? I've never used
awesome.
it. I always see you using it, and I'm like, I'm curious because
I used to use a Hayward Super Pump. Yeah, so you should definitely try it. If you have that really fine debris that is passing through, you can, like they have like the Portavac. That's another thing that you can, some people use. I've heard like Jay Money talking about using the Portavac for like really, you're in the high desert and you've got to, use finer ways to pick up finer debris. Okay. So, I like the Vac Daddy for that. I don't like the Portavac because I've seen them, and some of my clients have them, and they just kind of sit next to their pools, and they are never used, and they're difficult to kind of get set up. They're just as hard as using the pump and the filter and the skimmer and all that kind of stuff, and they take forever. The Vac Daddy is super fast to hook up. Like I used to use the Hayward Super Pump for vacuuming to waste when I was doing green to cleans. And then I just kept that on my truck. And you can also use that, just for like fine debris vacuuming, but it's super heavy and it's like throughout your back every time you use it. And the Vac Daddy replaced
I'm
that
lazy.
for me.
When it comes down to all that stuff, I'm like,
You're not
always
going to
trying
want
to
to
find ways. Yeah. I'm
You're
always trying
do
to
it
look
once,
for ways to do it.
and that's going to be it.
I have a portal vac, and it just sits in the garage because I'm like, I'm not hauling that thing around. And honestly, I don't like running the wheels down their grass and their landscaping and stuff like that. I don't like messing their stuff up, so I just connect to the system. But if the Vac Daddy works better, then why not?
It comes in like a hockey bag, and so it does still have like some wheels, that like kind of a suitcase kind of setup, but I really like it, and it's still really portable for me. And, as long as somebody has like a sidewalk, it's not really a big deal. And, even if you have to roll it through the grass, it'll still make it. But, just kind of go back over it with your foot and kind of fix the grass after you're done if it's, a big deal to the client. But, for the most part, I guess it has handles too, so you could just carry it. But, for the most part, it's a lot lighter. It does have the bag, so you can easily transport it. So I really like it, and it's a form factor that's small enough to fit in my truck all the time. So I keep it in my truck at all times.
How's the suction on it?
It's basically the same as like a Hayward Super Pump, so it's really strong. It's
like a 1 horsepower.
It's not like the exact same horsepower rating as a 1 horsepower, so I don't know exactly what it is, but it feels the same to me as like a 1 horsepower super pump.
Like when you're vacuuming, the vacuum head kind of sticks to the bottom of the floor, or is it kind of floaty?
So you can modulate the speed, actually, is the answer to that. So you can turn it up all the way, and sometimes it'll stick, but then you can turn it down with like a knob that's on there where you can, just turn down the speed like a variable speed pump. But it's really easy to turn down. So it's really cool. I don't use that attachment. Yeah.
I'm watching
I take
Dave.
That attachment off.
Literally, I typed it on YouTube, and the first video that popped up was from Dave from the Pool Guy podcast.
So you can see him modulating the speed on there as you kind of set it down. So, there's a little knob for speed modulation, and then he's using the head that comes on there, which is for like using the bags that you put inside the Vac Daddy. And I just take that head off and I vacuum to waste. Yeah. So I use the vacuum to waste adapter thing that you can kind of, I think that's what's pictured there.
So it comes with a bag that goes inside of the cone.
Yeah.
And you take that bag off.
Well, I do use a bag, but I use like the really coarse mesh bag that comes with it also. That's for vacuuming to waste. I don't use the fine mesh bag. So that's what I do.
90% almost gonna buy this. So I'm like really looking into it. It is like a hammerhead if you think about it, like the same concept. It has its own battery. It's a vacuum, but
doesn't have a battery. Well,
that's not a battery?
It's about to have a battery. They just came out with a battery, and I think that it has been released, but the one that I have
what's in that box?
That's a transformer. So it's got a 3-prong plug-in. So you have to plug it in or use an extension cord to plug it in to a regular outlet to use this product. But they are about to release a battery, basically, I think, is what I've seen online. So that will be an option that's either just now available or going to be available in the near future. But yeah, I plug it in.
Cool.
So yeah, that's something you have to consider, is having an outlet that's close by. And it is faster for me to use the Riptide than it is to do the Vac Daddy, but sometimes there's just like too fine of debris. Like if I show up and there's just like basically sand on the bottom of the pool, I'll just bust out the Vac Daddy, because I know that it's all just going to settle back down to the bottom of the pool if I use the Riptide, no matter how fine of a debris bag that I use. And I know you use the Power Vac,
and this picks it up, and this doesn't. Does the bag get clogged up pretty fast, or?
Not with sand and fine debris. If you're using it for vacuuming to waste, like a green pool, and you're vacuuming leaves, it'll fill up pretty fast with leaves. But you could vacuum an entire pool full of sand and not have to stop and pull out the bag if you're using the really coarse bag.
How do you vacuum to waste? Because it shows that on the tip.
You have to get
like a filter on the tip.
Okay, so I don't use that. I took that off the first day that I got it, and I've never put it back on. I use a different adapter that comes. You have to order this with the Vac Daddy. It doesn't just come with like the standard bundle, but it's like the Pro bundle or something. And it's a vacuum to waste adapter, and it's just another piece that screws onto that, and you put a 50-foot long hose onto that and clamp it. So I also carry a 50-foot vacuum hose, but I don't vacuum with it. I just use it for discharge. So I'll take the Vac Daddy, the 50-foot hose, and hook the 50-foot hose onto the like where that adapter is that you were just showing, but it's a different adapter. And then you just kind of take that and set it off to the side, off the patio, and you can vacuum to waste, which for you, it might be a problem to vacuum to waste because there's some weird ordinance stuff in California.
Yeah. I'm like, where am I shooting the waste to? Like, I would literally have to put it all the way to the drain or all the way to the street.
I usually just do it literally right on the edge of the patio.
To the grass?
Yeah, there's a 4-foot apron of concrete usually, and I just put it right on the edge of the 4-foot apron, usually right in the middle of the pool, around where it goes from the shallow end to the deep end. And that's where I will shoot out, because you can do it so fast that you don't really have to worry about it being like a lot of debris, or a lot of water.
You're shooting a lot of water out. You're shooting a lot of water out, but not that much because you're doing it a lot faster.
Right. So you can vacuum to waste quickly and not have to do it for a really long time and just be done with it. So you're only probably spot vacuuming sand or something in your case. So you wouldn't have to do it for very long, but you would want to be aware of the customer's grass and stuff. And some people are really sensitive about that, but some people are not, and it just kind of it depends on the client and what the problem is and if it would warrant it. I would say for you, in most cases, probably the power vac or something would be easier because you don't have to shoot the water onto people's grass. People are not going to like that. But yeah, and
this is how you do it?
So I tape the water bottle onto the end of the hose. Yep. And I shoot it out to waste. And yes, that's how I do it. And the water bottle.
Why is the water blue on that one?
So we used some colorful sand as just kind of like a fun video project with Blu-ray XL.
That's right. When you guys were doing the different colors.
Yeah. So that's why that one's blue.
Dude, I'm gonna check out that Vac Daddy for sure.
Yeah, it's really cool, but yeah, you just gotta watch your local ordinances and stuff, because in some areas they're really sensitive about that. In Tennessee, like there's no ordinance about that kind of stuff. No one cares.
No one cares.
Yeah. It is not a thing. And, just I've heard that you can get like $10,000 fines or something in California if you do that. So you got to be careful about that kind of stuff. But
yeah,
basically, I think that if you're vacuuming a clear pool, then you don't have to worry about getting fined. But if it's a green pool, then you can get fined in certain states. So you have to be careful about that. And you might have to get it cloudy first, like cloudy blue, before you can actually vacuum to waste. And, you might have to do it at night or something. I don't know, in order to not have problems. But there can be some sensitivity there. But generally, it is a great product, and I use it all the time. I keep it on my truck, at all times.
You know what? That's one of the things that I like looking at when I'm on your Instagram, is that you do test out a lot of new products, and make videos about them.
Yeah.
And besides the Vac Daddy, what other products are out there that you would recommend for these pool guys?
So Blu-ray XL is a big one. That's one of my favorite products that I use, and I really recommend that to all pool guys. And I know you've used it, and it's something that you just kind of gotta try and start using and see how it works for you. But it's a great product, and I really think that is something that everybody should try in the pool industry. It's going to save you time, money. It's going to save your back from leaning over and brushing algae all the time. It's just, we're not getting any younger. Just use it. Get the Blu-ray XL. It's going to help you out. I like the vac bags. That's another great product that you just mentioned. Also like Pro Tough. They're a really good company. They make nets and brushes and poles, and I've used a lot of their products, especially the fine mesh net. They have my favorite fine mesh net, and I've used every kind of net, the Red Baron and the Piranha, and I still have different nets on my truck. I've got Piranhas, I've got the Pro Toughs, but those are the two that I keep the most. But that fine mesh Pro Tough net is fantastic, and that's one of my favorite products that I've really gotten to use this year. So it's like you can skim out stuff. That's so fine, you would love it.
Have you used the Cyclone filter cleaner yet?
Yep, I use the Cyclone filter cleaner. That's another favorite product of mine. I started using that, I want to say last year, and I love the Cyclone filter cleaner. It's fantastic for cleaning filters. It used to take me like an hour to clean filters, and now I charge less for filter cleanings because of the Cyclone filter cleaner. It takes me a lot less time, so I actually charge less than I used to. I would charge for a full hour, and now I only charge an extra 50. So I love the filter cleaner. It takes me less time. It doesn't hurt my back as much. So I love the Cyclone. I've also started recently using the Pool Filter Buddy, which is another filter cleaner product that's really interesting. And I just tried that out recently for the first time, and I really like that one too. So it doesn't spin, and it just basically holds up all 4 filters. But
Oh yeah. I saw that.
So for DE, if you do a lot of DE, it looks really cool. I can see how it'd be great for that. I use it for cartridge filters, and it was great for that, but it doesn't spin, but I still really like the way that it works, and it was very effective. And so yeah, that's kind of a new product I just started using. So I like those. And I just, I like to try out different things and see what works the best. And, sometimes the Cyclone might be easier. Sometimes the Pool Filter Buddy might be easier. Sometimes, different products work for different things, and just kind of seeing what works best for you is really the best thing to do when you're in the pool industry.
Definitely, man. I'm big on, I'm big like you. I want to find out what's going to make my job easier. I'm going to try this out. I'm going to try that out. So there's a lot of products out there that they'll send me stuff, and I'm like, oh, hell yeah, I want to try this one out now. So you get to experiment to see if those products work. And if they do, then you get to let everybody else know, that it worked for you, and have them have their life be a lot more easier than what it was before.
Yeah,
for sure.
It definitely changes the game when you get better products and you're able to do things more effectively. And that's what I'm all about, is just being effective and not having to do something twice. And another product that I really like is these metal clips that you can put into the poles and everything, like the Ultimate Pool Tools makes them. And that's another really helpful one that I've really enjoyed using, where it's like your brush doesn't fall off every time you push down, or it doesn't break off the little plastic things. So it's like called a hyper clip or something like that. Those are awesome. It's just like I would have to net, and then my net would fall off, and then I'd have to net the net out. So,
Right.
So always keep 2 poles on your truck, right? Just in case you drop something in there, and keep extra pieces of equipment, extra nets, extra brushes, that kind of stuff. So you can get your equipment out. But when you use those little metal clips, that helps your equipment stay on the pole. And it's just like one really simple thing. I replaced all my clips with those little metal hyper clips, and I love that.
That's so cool. Yeah, man, I'm the same way. Let's talk to the listeners. What piece of advice do you have for them? Something that's going to help them with their journey.
I would say that they should listen to David Van Brunt and all of the things that he has to say about chemistry, and practice target chemistry. Use the Spin Lab. Use an accurate testing method. The Spin Lab is my favorite. But yeah, just listen to David Van Brunt. Listen to Bob Lowry. Those guys really know what they're talking about when it comes to chemistry. And, just follow what they have to say, because that really changed everything for me.
Yeah, definitely. David is, like I said in the beginning, David's one of those guys that I've learned a lot from through his YouTube. I haven't had the opportunity to listen to his podcast, but his YouTube video, I'm like, I have it on my save for sure. Yeah, that's my dude right there. Yeah,
he's great.
And then you have Terry Arco from Hasa. He's really knowledgeable as well when it comes down to the chemistry. Matter of fact, he's always usually at the expos doing classes when it comes down to chemistry.
The liquid chlorine, that was a big game changer for me. I'd never used liquid chlorine before I heard about David Van Brunt, and of course he uses the Hasa liquid chlorine. So now I carry liquid chlorine on my truck and I use it every day. So that was a game changer for me, and learning about how that all works was really interesting. So yeah, I really like using liquid chlorine, and I think it's really valuable. So that's something that all pool guys should learn about and try to use on their route, because clients like it, and I think that it's a really great way to keep your pools clean.
Awesome. Well, Tim, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I appreciate it. Anything else you want to share before we log off?
Just thanks to God, thanks for my family, thank you to my wife, and thanks to you, Pete. Appreciate you letting me be on the podcast today.
No, man, thank you for being on the podcast. Where can people find you?
You can visit my website, ParisPoolGuy.com, or you can find me on social media at ParisPoolGuy is my Instagram handle, and it's also the same on Facebook at ParisPoolGuy. So yeah, that's all I got.
All right. Well, thanks so much for everybody for listening to the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Orale. Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Let's vibe. Game so deep. Let's ride.